Have you ever wanted to cut something really large on your Cricut, but you didn't know where to begin? I'll show you some easy steps for how to slice an image so you can cut it in Design Space. Let's start by getting an image. Let's do Goofy. All right. Here, and let's say I want to cut this guy at, I'm going to bring down my magnification here, maybe 30 inches. Of course, that won't fit on a mat. It's 20 inches wide, 30 inches long. So what would we do? Well, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to ungroup this image. And so I can work with each individual layer. I've got my orange, blue, the feet, the hands, which are all grouped there, face, the green part, and then the black background. And what I want to do is start with a square here that is 11.5 inches. I just go up here and change it in the size to 11.5, and that way I know that I'm not going to get any error messages when I try to cut this shape out. What I want to look at is how this is positioned over Goofy and where I want to cut, where are the best places to cut. One thing you want to keep in mind is, do you want to save this image for using for something else? Maybe it's something you're going to hang up at the holidays and you're going to want to keep it every year, so you're going to want to be able to fold it in half, in which case you want to make sure that you have fold lines, spots where this whole image can be bent in half. So I'm going to find a spot about here, and I don't like the extra pieces sticking out on each side, so I'm going to tilt it a little bit and get it so I've got most of the image covered, and I'm looking at the bottom and the top. So here I've got this space that'll be cut separate, and this piece, and the rest of this. And I'm going to highlight it. Ah, there's a second piece under here. That's why it won't let me. There we go. Okay. Okay, so back to where we were. So I'm going to go ahead and highlight that and slice. And I'm going to go ahead and get rid of all of the extra pieces. And if I move this, you can see that I sliced out that center section. Now actually, what I don't like is that this little piece here got missed. I'm going to take it backwards before it was sliced. There we go. I'm going to move it over just a little bit, and we'll slice it again. So if you make a mistake or you don't like how it cut, go ahead and go back through with the back arrows, and that'll take care of that. Now, I'm going to move this out of the way here because I want to see what else I have left. These pieces here are attached to this, so you need to go in with your shapes again. And actually what I sometimes will do is make several of them. I'll just duplicate them. So there's an 11.5, and I'm going to duplicate it a couple more times just so I have the extras for the next cuts. Now I'm going to take this over, slice it, and I'm going to take this one, there we go, rid of that, this one, and slice again. Notice it went behind that time because I created this square before I sliced this, and if you do it in that order, you're going to have it behind the other one, like that, which means you won't be able to delete the piece behind it unless you move the other one out of the way, which can be a problem if you're trying to keep things exactly spaced, but I'm not going to worry about that. So at this point I've got these guys done, I've got that done, and now for this, and it's behind it again, which is fine because I can really see what I'm doing. I think what I want to do is just cut the arm here, and I'm going to get as close as I can without cutting the ears. There we go. Okay, so like that. And that will fold in nicely then if I want to fold this up for keeping it for something else. Alright, so there's that. Now, as you can see, I've got a whole bunch of pieces of him, and it doesn't really take that long to do this, but it's nice because when you're done, you'll be able to cut all of this in separate pieces for putting this all together. You just tape it together and you're set to go. An angle, I'm just trying to get the best cuts I can. I'm going to slice that one. And then what I'm left with is here. Again, just take some shapes. In this case, I'm not even going to worry. I know it's smaller than 11 and a half, so I can do that. Slice that off. Put it back. And I'm going to leave a gap like this. And I'll tell you why. So if I leave a gap like that, and I can see where these cuts are going to be, when I go to cut all these pieces on my paper, I'll know right how to put them back together. Sometimes when you have a lot of different cuts, it gets complicated and you're not sure anymore where something goes. So this is the last one that's going to be too big. And there we go. I can't cut that on top of another thing. Here, move over. And there. Okay. So this has all been sliced into sections. I plan to save him right in the center here. That's where I would fold it over if I was going to store it. And here we are. Okay, so now you can see all the sections that he's going to be. As for the colors, that's going to be way easier. You will do the same thing, but they already have natural breaks. So, for instance, let's look at this white layer here. I can just take a circle. I don't need to worry that this is going to be too big. It's not going to be bigger than an 8.5 by 11. Just go like this. Slice that off. Because these will cut nicely on the paper once I put everything out there. Alright, so now these are attached. Again, take a shape, whatever one makes the most sense for the item. I'm going to do a circle here and slice. And you're going to want to slice all of the different things because it saves paper. So now this can go onto the mat like this, and that would be easier. Now let's see if the pants fit. We do an 8.5 or a 11.5. Oh, they almost fit, but not quite. So I'm gonna cut it there. Slice that, and then I have the top and the bottom here that can go back together. Alright, so you get the idea of how this works. Then all of these things are going to go together, and you glue them, or you tape them all down, glue them down, and everything is going to be fitting on your mat. Let me show you here. It doesn't like me going past this point for some reason. Alright, there we go. Please excuse my dog and puppy in the background. They are roughhousing right now. Okay. So I'm looking over here and I don't see anything with... Oh, there's one. Now, I'm not sure why that one is showing up with a problem. Let's see. Aha, yes, that one wasn't small enough. Okay, so yes, that does need to get cut. And you can pretty much pick anywhere to slice it. There we go. Slice. And okay. The last two things that I need to do. One is the shoe. There we go. And then the other is the arm here, because those two items were not fitting on a 12 by 12. There we go. Okay. Now, when I go to make it, I can take the images. All right, so this one here, because it's showing it's larger than a 12 by 12, it's not. You just need to rotate it and move it up. You know that you've cut it within that 11.5-inch box. So just rotate the image so it fits. And then this one, I would just pop to a new mat. I wouldn't keep it and try to cut two at once. If it ever does this, where it puts it down here and you're like, why can't I move it? Just go to another mat and then go back, and it will be on the mat where it's supposed to be. But see, you look at something like this and go, where is this gonna fit? And that's why I leave it spaced apart, so I can actually go back and look when I go to put it together and say, oh, okay, this is how this goes. And see, now I can even get away with putting this on a 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper and save on 12 by 12 paper. And on some of these things, I can tell it to move it to the other mat. And I can cut that all on one 12 by 12. And that saves a lot of paper when you go to make it. I even usually will try to put some of these black pieces over onto other pieces just to fit them on. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. Most of these black lines are going to be covered up by the pieces in front of it. So you're not really going to see the lines that much. The ones that you see it more on are, of course, your front layers, but that's why I try to cut apart layers where they naturally would split and not just in the middle of it, because I'm going fast. So as you can see, it's not going to be that easy to put all the pieces together unless you have some kind of point of reference for most of these, which is why I mentioned that keeping the cuts all like this would be an easy way to put it back together. Then I flip it over and I tape together all the sections on the back side. Okay, there we are. He's all taped up. Now I'll flip him over and I'll begin layering all the colors on him. Now here's an example of where you want to watch where you're gluing. Right here is a seam line, and this is going to go up like this. If I still want to be able to bend this backwards for storage, I have to make sure not to put any glue on this section right here. So here I've glued this on, but if I pick it up, I can still bend that backwards to fold it down. And ta-da, here it is, all done. I made sure here where the seam is to leave this so it can be folded in half. The arm can be folded in as well. And that way, when you want to store it, this is going to take much less space. But it easily just unfolds, and there you go. Big 30-inch Goofy.